This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
I can get everybody excited about something, but if their executive leader doesn't say this is why we're the why, what, how of a change, if they don't have the context for why we're doing it, what we're doing, and how, and they don't speak about that, I can do all the work in the world and it won't matter.
I think there's a lot of talk about this term future of work to the point where like future of work is now a cliche. But the future of work is, I mean, it's like more like the now of work than the future of work, because now it's happening. We're in hybrid work, we're in flexible work. I mean, in some ways, Meryl, you kind of had a crystal ball, and 20 years ago, like we saw this before anybody else. So before we go anywhere else, tell me, 20 years from now, what is actually the future of work look like?
Oh, thanks for having me. It's so interesting for you to say that. I think I can tell you that in the last 20 years, the future of work didn't seem to move as quickly as it's moving right now. So it's when I take a look and think about where we're going, there's just so many aspects. I mean, there's everything from the workplace, how that will be defined. You know, now the workplace is no longer a place, it's where you do your work, which can be anywhere. Technology, we all know, has moved so quickly and has advanced and allowed people to do work anytime, anywhere. We see what's happening in our major cities where people are not necessarily using the space or going into offices, and companies and real estate organizations have to rethink how they're going to bring people in and what will that space look like. So there's a lot of dynamics, a lot of interesting things that I believe will not only be dictated by what I've just said, but also what future generations are going to demand and expect. I have couple of girls that are Gen Zers, and I know the way I've worked and the way I'm working now is not the way they're going to be working going forward.
So when they look at your life and your schedule, they're like, "Mom, I'm never going to be like that." Or is that what are they like?
Oh, oh yeah. I will tell you. So I've built my company at FlexPaths in my home, and I have a office where right over on my right I have a little chair, and my kids will come and watch me. And at the end of one day, my 18-year-old daughter, who's a freshman at University of Wisconsin, came over to me and said, "Mom, I just want to let you know you work really hard, and I don't think I'm going to work that hard." And then we had a very big discussion, which that would be another interview, but very different perception on what work is, how hard you work, the style of the work, what you get in return. Very different given her frame.
I wonder if it's a cocktail of generational and access and exposure. My father is 80-ish. He's now over 80, 81, and he still works. He's a lawyer. He owns his firm. I think, I'm going on a little tangent, but I'll be quick on it. I think he's seen a lot of people that he cared about slip when they retired, and so he's definitely of the use it or lose it. But he also truly like made himself. He came from having to be strategic. And so, like, one of my favorite stories is my dad used to sell programs at the Redskins game when that's what they were called. And he did it so he could make money and see the team he wanted to see because he didn't have any money. And he scrapped his way to becoming a lawyer. And then we show up, my brother and I, in Potomac, Maryland, which is like a 3-car garage house. And I'm like, I want this and I want that. And it wasn't until I left for college and I started to like commingle with others that I realized how lucky I was from a context standpoint. And I knew, wow, it's how amazing is it that I got to see what the ceiling could look like because I lived in that house of what the ceiling was possible. My dad didn't have any of that. So I'm curious, even your 18-year-old daughter, she goes away to Wisconsin. She's like, pass. I'm gonna pass on working that hard. What do you think why do you think she said that?
That's interesting. I think that I'm at the edge of the baby boomer, and again, how I was raised, it was a different frame. I think it was all about you do what you're told, loyalty. You work for companies for a long time, you get something in return. There was a real kind of employer-employee alignment or contract that we felt. We work hard, that would equal advancement, that would equal better pay, that would equal, you wouldn't get blindsided and laid off, and I think I grew up in that frame, and it's almost like a bit of a compliant, complacent way of working and living. And I think that this generation and even those older that's no longer. We don't even have that guarantee. And I also don't think leaders are leading and managing their people and coaching them the way I had. The way I was able to ascend in organizations, I had mentors and sponsors and bosses that invested in me. I just don't think they see all of that support and guarantee around them. So they are less likely to trust, perhaps, and say, I'm going to give it my all the time in an organization when I don't see all those other things happening for me.
I also don't think we had options. Like even for me, there wasn't just this social network called LinkedIn that I could pop on. And you're right, it was a very narrow lane, and the relationships I had, like the Kevin Bacon game was 2 degrees. It wasn't 6 degrees. It was like even I knew somebody who knew somebody, and like good luck. And now you have the ability to build your brand. You have the ability to put yourself out there, right? You can design a life where you're actually going after the thing you want. And to your point, some of the best bosses I ever had were hard ass bosses. And if I didn't make it through them, right? Like it's so easy to just be like, no, I'm out now. But when I was 24, I would never have done that. And I think there's so many, like the aperture is wide open. So let's start there. Like from a loyalty standpoint, like does loyalty still matter in your opinion? And how do you build loyalty with your people?
I love that question. And I think there's a few, and then I'd love to go back to the internet, social media piece for a moment, because I think that you brought up a really great point that I'd like to build on. I think the loyalty piece is something that companies are struggling with. I saw firsthand in helping companies transition from a traditional workforce model to hybrid that the pandemic really was a very defining moment for organizations to really grab loyalty because they were able to really listen to their people, and kind of they were a little bit caught off guard because their people weren't in the office and they didn't have the control that they might have thought they had. So there was a lot of effort by CEOs and others to build loyalty, to say really great things to people, to be very personal, getting on a Zoom, and if somebody had their daughter walk the background, that wasn't grounds for being fired.
Right.
We all were able to be ourselves because we had to. We were now in our homes. We were inviting people into our homes, and so you had to see us differently. And I think that created some really great opportunities for companies to maximize that connection and loyalty and concern for their people and build a lot of trust. Regrettably, I think coming out of it, there are a lot of organizations that are like, okay, we need to get back to business. The recessive environment. We did that because we had to. And this is where I fight a lot because I believe that we had such an advantage. I don't think we have to. I don't think we should. Companies should have shifted so far away from that because we had a base of opportunity there to really. We had our people where we wanted them, and I feel that that to me was a change in the loyalty opportunity that kind of I fight every day, if I might, to say to companies, even if you want your people in the office, even if you want certain things, there's ways of messaging the things you want without being so business focused. So I think there's a lot there too.
I think it's, as a guy that has a company called Courageous, right? And there's this famous proverb that fear and courage are kin. You don't get to the courageous choice without channeling it through fear, but then you need to be the one that's steering the fear, not the fear is steering you. And I couldn't agree more that there was this opportunity that sort of landed in our lap. And you got to be careful always, right? When talking about pandemics and followed by a word like opportunity. But I think it was an eye opening moment for many leaders who realized, okay, I need to figure out a better way to empower my people, to motivate my people, to listen to what to their needs. One of the reasons that I left and I don't know how much you know about my background, but I mean, I ran creative agencies for the last 20 years. I grew up on Madison Avenue. I was very fortunate to have a few good mentors, even when I hadn't declared them mentors till later on in my life. The reason that I left the business was because I was being asked by marketers to tell stories to the outside world. They're like, help me win, please. Like, I need customers. And like those stories that they wanted me to tell may or may not have been authentic to the culture. And I'm like, well, can I interview the culture? Can I come in and actually see what's going on? And they're like, what do you mean? No, we'll write you a brief. Here's why we're sliced bread. And you're like, well, no, you don't understand. Like, if I tell the outside world a story and it's BS on the inside, your people are going to leave. Like, there's plenty of stories to be told, by the way. So, like, if we could just slow down and do this thing the right way. And to your point, I do think leaders right now, especially at public companies, are feeling the anxiety of, I need to deliver. I need to deliver now.
A lot of our recent work has been organizations saying, come in and help our managers. They are being crushed. They're crushed from executives telling them what they expect, employees telling them what they want, and external situations that are so fast-paced, unprecedented amount of change hitting them. Leaders now have to deal with mental health issues in the workplace. They have to deal with what's going on in the society. They have to deal with AI. They have to deal with, like we talked about, the different generations and how they're all playing nice or not. And these are not things that are related to productivity and performance. They're areas that still need to be regarded. So the whole area of being emotionally intelligent, the whole opportunity of being a good leader, having the soft skills. And what a lot of companies did during the pandemic, they promoted leaders quickly. They promoted leaders that were functionally proficient, but not necessarily people experts. And so what ends up happening is you have these leaders that are just like, okay, we just need to get the work done, but they're not speaking to their people. They're not meeting them where they are. And if you take a look at even women, there was a whole McKinsey report. Every year they put out a great report about women in the workplace, and it shows you where there is opportunity and challenge in the workplace around women and people of color, because again, some of these areas continue to be ignored or not handled in a way that makes any real mark change.
I read this morning, it was a survey from MediaLink. And again, it was looking at marketers. So this is through the lens of marketers who are asked to market, right? They're on the front lines with consumers. And the quote was, the number of marketers who say their company have compromised their core values to enable short-term wins. According to this survey, you want to take a guess what the number is?
I'm going to say it's a large majority, but you're talking about a percentage, like a percentage of the people that, yeah, 3/4.
So it was 45% of marketers said the company is compromising the company values for short-term wins. Last year
Oh,
was
okay.
it was 25%, so 1 in 4.
Oh, okay.
And now here
Got
we
it.
are. It's 40, almost 1 in 2 are like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm being asked, right? I signed up for this company because I believed in the company. I believe nobody signs up for a company they don't believe in unless they absolutely like last resort, right? You probably know more than me what those numbers look like.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that when companies attract talent, the thing that's very important in making a decision initially is the mission, the brand, what they stand for. And when you take a look again at different parts of the population, different things matter. But I think at the end of the day, what I hear and understand and experience is why people stay. They stay because of their leaders and their teams, and taking that mission and really bringing it down to the level of what do I do that matters and connects back to that mission. And I think that's where a lot of, again, there's some fails there, because a day to day, even if you're making a widget or you're on a factory line or you're just writing a letter for your CEO, whatever that is, people need to understand why that matters and why it's important. So there's this whole opportunity and again, ability to get people to understand the mission and otherwise, and if they have to believe that it's true. So I think if we don't take the time to make sure they believe it's true while they're working in the organization, not just making it a sell when they come in, it becomes tiresome.
I want to be careful because optimism is my number one core value. And I think we were like, the sky is falling, right? And so, like,
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I want to stop you. Not at all. I don't see the sky falling. I think there's an opportunity to stop and pause and say what's happening. And I think there is a lot of opportunity for solution. I just think that for now, we're racing so fast. People are just in reactive mode. Fires are, let's put out the fires. Let's look at what's in front of us, tight resources. I am very bullish on the fact that there's such reinvention opportunity for organizations. I just think we're not taking the time to do it.
yeah, I think this is where we're simpatico. I say that, I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. It's awesome to see your business and how, again, it's right in line with what we need. And we say the resets you free. What's the is it reinvention? Is it
Yes.
re-energizing our people? Is it rethinking your tomorrow? And so we fully believe in the resets you free. And you've been doing this for 2 decades. You've been counseling execs and C-suite leaders of many brands that we know in the Fortune 1000. So let's say, in the spirit of keeping this optimistic, give us, someone's listening right now, they're in a position where they can make a dent. Give me 3 things that I should be thinking about or I could do right now that's going to help me better land with my people. And I loved how you said already earlier, like, meet people where they are. So I hope I'm not stealing one of them, but give me more goodness in that space.
Anyone who's listening who's a leader of people or perhaps at the C-suite, I think first of all, I think that um, what's really important is the listening. You said meet people where they are, but really it's not about collecting data, it's about interpreting it. So I think first of all, really getting a current state understanding of what's going on is really, really important right now, and doing something about it. So one is listen, and whatever you do is a reactive measure. It could just be testing something, but don't just keep people are survey weary. They don't want to keep being asked how they are. So I think the first thing we need to do to really make a dent in our organizations is to listen and do something, take some steps to do something different. The next thing, quite honestly, is we talked about the fact that leaders don't have time. Leaders have to, I think, have to make time to be sponsors and mentors to their people. Young people in particular, they come in to an organization and it's not just about sitting at their desk and doing their work. They want the experience. They want to have shadow other people. They want to sit in other meetings. They want to maybe visit a different part of the country or world and see what's happening in another part of the company. So I think that leaders, again, they must do what they can to expand their influence and what they can do for others in some capacity, because it's
Meryl,
so appreciated.
but before you jump to the third, to me, this is mind-boggling. Like, it's awareness. It's a lack of awareness, or their brains are so flooded with the ask or the act that they're not realizing, hey, people are watching your moves, not just your boss, everyone. And even if you left to go somewhere else, I mean, this is the only way I know how to do it. Like, if you left and went somewhere else, who would want to go with you? Right? Like, I feel like it's like, how do you short circuit the leader to make them be like, oh shoot, I've been so focused on delivering, and I bulldozed over 50% of my team or 20% of my team. It's like, hey, it's awareness. You're being watched, and do people want to follow you, or are they not? Are they going to talk bad about you from here on out?
100%. And I think I always talk about having a steady hand, like what we've said to a lot of people during the pandemic who couldn't maybe possibly deal with all of the change and way people were working. I would say to the executives, you might not be comfortable with this new way of working, but you need to kind of set that aside, and you need to solve for what's right for the organization and your people, getting the business results. I'm all about the business results, but like take your own personal preferences, fears, emotions, and talk to other people. Go have a glass of wine with somebody and dump it on, to have this talk after hours. But well, to your point, people are looking at leaders to lead, and they're looking for a steady hand. That sets such an important tone for people. So I really did. We kind of did go into therapy mode during the pandemic. Even though we were doing a lot of work, I sat with many human resource leaders, and they would call me and say, "Meryl, this is a tough time." And I said, "It is. Give yourself grace. but also separate that because people are watching. So I think you make a really good point on that issue for sure.
I'm assuming you love what you do. I'm assuming there's joy.
Oh, I love what I do. I love what I do, especially where I'm in my life right now. It's all about people say to me like what it is. It's me, it's about making a difference with people and making an impact. And every organization, when we're finished working, I always do leave them with a gift. And the gift, it doesn't sound like a fancy gift, but I give them a report back, basically letting them know the outputs we received, the observations we heard, and the opportunities that I believe they can take forward. And I package it up because sometimes companies will bring you in and they just want the job done. And for me, it's important to say, everybody, let's take a pause and let's look at the body of work and let's look at what you can do with this. So I love the fact that as a consultant, I can do it. I was on a call today and we were going to review this report, and the person's like, I only have 15 minutes. And I said, then let's reschedule. This is too important. This is your time. This is something that's for you. So I think as a third party, which is maybe I can segue to you asked me about making a dent. I think calling in a third party expert sometimes is important because that person, especially if it's someone who's good, is not going to blow smoke. They're not just going to tell you what you want to hear. They're not going to take information that they hear and make it pretty. They're going to give you an objective, clear, transparent point of view about your issues and your problems and your organization and your people. And I love doing that because in a company, sometimes you can't do that because it doesn't strike politically how to do it. So the best part about what I do is I can be transparent and candid and really try to elevate a conversation or do something for the company that perhaps wouldn't be possible had I not been on the outside doing it.
I also think it is a small act of courage to say, no, we're not going to have this conversation right now. Your time is valuable. It also protects you. It protects you in the thought that you've done and the work that you've done, that you're not going to just rush it through in 15 minutes. And it's not their fault. They're just trying to get through their day, right? And survive the day. But I think it is an act of courage to hear you say that and saying, and you basically are like, no, I'm going to say no with grace, right? But good on you.
Thank you. It was funny after that call today, 'cause it happened today, got on the phone with my consultant and we both said that was a bit of a risk, but we both agreed we did it and we framed it that way. We did this for you because it's not fair to you to rush through something so important. So let's reschedule. We will work around your schedule. And the meeting has been rescheduled. And that's to me a win. That was a small win, but an important one for them and for us. It showed that we had the courage and the transparency and the care to do this right for them.
The irony is the amount of times or the amount of time we lose thinking about how do I say this? Oh my goodness, right? And right now spending a lot of time looking at self-talk and you know when you're in the branding world, you have a bit for a lot of things. But I think the way that our minds function, we don't think about it this way, but there's a worrier part of you and then there's the warrior part of you. And they're kind of together. And if you're not careful, the muscle that gets stretched the most is the one that's the loudest. So for a lot of us, the worrier is winning and it's pointing out all the things. And so a lot of people, if the worrier takes over, you never get to the warrior. It's just like, watch out for this. Don't say that. Oh my gosh, what happens? I'm projecting on what the future looks like. And you're wasting a lot of time when you kind of need your warrior to step in and be like, hey, thanks, warrior, for pointing that out. No, I'm moving forward. So even in your mind, just the idea of like, hey, what was the warrior thinking in that moment and how the warrior came out and said, this is too important. No, let's reschedule. Here's why. This is important stuff that you need to be thinking. When you look at the way FlexPaths, I think I read this somewhere, you guys call yourselves a human capital agency, but and again, I'm not here to tell you, but like for me, it feels like a human connection agency. It really is about the connection piece. Do you see it that way?
Oh, I do. I do. I am a big believer that you build relationships before you build business. And the connections are critical to me. So the connections come in two places. First of all, to a potential client, I want them to feel that I am there for them and my team are that we are there for them. I want them to understand that the reason they're hiring us is not to just do the work, but it's to solve a problem and to take pressure off of them. So an emotional, to your point, there's a very big people piece in what we do. Secondly, we have a whole team of consultants that are everything from thought leaders to human capital experts, business transformation, trainers, coaches, project managers, writers, all that. And there's a really important role that they play in the work. And we onboard them and vet them to be sure they represent the brand that way. So they know, like, if they're at a meeting and things aren't going along, they shouldn't be at the meeting, be like, let's move it along. Maybe they know that maybe that meeting isn't running right, then maybe afterwards that they make a suggestion to the person running the meeting. Like, in other words, they have the political cachet and awareness and sophistication to know that what we're doing is about getting people motivated and to do things that maybe they don't know how to do or want to do, skill and will. And so it's really important the how they do it. So yes, I believe the reason why we've done so well is because we say we care and we actually show it through the work and through the repeat work, through the fact that people say, they took the time to get to know us, so now they know us. So it's easier when when people know your organization, you don't have to kind of bring them up to speed again. And we kind of listen with both ears for that too.
I mean, and there lies your answer when your daughter comes into the room and wonders why you like to work so much. It's like, it's work with an asterisk, I mean, when you actually get to help people, there's joy.
But it's interesting to go back to our daughter. She doesn't want to work the way I work, but I think she really admires the style of how I work. Meaning, she sees the leadership skills, she sees the relationship, she sees the way I speak. When she was probably around 10 years old, I would take her to school and I'd be sometimes out of time. So I'd say, Jaden, take my phone and write up this email for me. She'd be my little scribe. If you read her communications now, she writes like an adult. I mean, and she said, Mom, you taught me how to write a gracious email, how to address the situation. She goes, I learned through that. So what's beautiful when you don't realize, you said this earlier, people are watching, right? And with steadiness and grace, people are watching you. And she was watching and she learned some pretty amazing skills about how her mom, since she was in my belly when I started the company, she learned how she watched a mom work from home, build a business from scratch, build a client base, communicate, do all those things. And she is now a business major. And I believe that, she might not do it the way I do it, but she sees something in how I did it that I think will inspire her, whatever path she takes.
Her name's Jaden.
Her name is Jaden.
All right, Jaden, let me make this really clear. There's no part of me that ever thought that you were lazy, by the way. I think you're probably giving your mom a compliment because you appreciate how she works. And I get that. I have this is where I wish I did video. I have a real live step and repeat in my house that's behind me, right? And so I have my office in my house and a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old who are watching every move that I make. And I know that I don't have to tell them; they're watching. You just have to show them. And I live in San Diego, and I think you're probably where are you in New York or
New
in the
Jersey.
East Coast?
New
You're in
Jersey.
Jersey, so these are not affordable places to like raise families, right? Southern California and New Jersey, and so I like that they see me working hard, and I like that they see me on the road, and I think it lands with them and they are picking up what we're putting down, even though it's not the main, but it's pretty close to the main, if I'm honest. Like I hope they are picking that up. So
Can I
let me
just
ask you.
I just want to ask you say because I love where you were going with watching you. I have another I also have to talk about the fact I have another daughter named Maddie, or I'm going to have a big problem if they listen in. So Maddie is studying to be a civil engineer, and she's the older daughter. But the thing that I want to just say is you can manage a home, manage a social life, build a business, have relationships, that holistic view again, and with work being very important because I always worked since I was 14 years old. I think again, modeling that and seeing that executed, I think has put them on paths for knowing that they can do that too. It's just a matter of you can't do everything at once perfectly, but they got to see the integration of all those things together.
As I think about your kids and my kids and their futures and we kind of started with this, but growing up for me in business and when I was 22, I was grateful to get a job out of school in New York City. And always described New York City like It's like a treadmill on 10.0. You know, like if you can jump on it and not bust your chin, like you can stay a while, right? Like the hardest part is actually getting on the treadmill. I, and it's almost just as hard to leap off it because it doesn't stop for you when it's finally time for you to jump off of that. And when I think about a lot of people back then, it felt like survival mode was first. I didn't get a lot of choice. I didn't have a lot of say. This is your boss. This is who you're going to work for. This is what we're going to pay you. And it eventually got slowed down, and I would eventually get to my version of success mode. Now, I think our kids, and I think people that are working now are looking for soul mode. I think they're looking to fuel their soul. It's not enough just to be, I'm making money and it's transactional, right? It's not just enough to survive and be successful. I want to be successful. I want to make money. But if I had my way and I could design my life, my soul needs to be stirred as well. I am wearing my values on my sleeve. So, you represent organizations. Right now, there's somebody that's stuck in the middle of an organization who feels like their soul is just dying. What advice do you have for that person?
It's a great question. I think there are opportunities that companies provide, and maybe this person could jump into it. This is a few things. I think that if your soul is dying, one of the things that's probably super important for you is feeling a sense of belonging and connection. And organizations have business resource groups, employee resource groups. I think it's really about connection and community. And companies are realizing that they have to create those now. And they can be in a lot of, they can be in the examples I just did, but I think it's really, really about not necessarily staying in your swim lane of, okay, I work in a department, this is my boss, these are my colleagues, this is my immediate team. I think people have absolute opportunities and should ask for them or recommend going and being part of other teams, being part, if there's a new initiative, get recharged. Is there a new product coming out? Is there, is there a new sales force that's being built? We all have skills that are not necessarily confined to what we do every day. I know for me, when I was working in corporate America, I always raised my hand for the new thing because I got bored. I'm not a maintainer. I'm a grower and builder. So I'd be like, okay, I see something out there. Let me go ask an executive, can I get on there? It might have meant I had to spend more hours, but eventually it would work because sometimes you then get transitioned into that work. So you have to, if you want to be something, I think you have to be something. You have to do it, and then people see it, and then all of a sudden you're in that role or you have that opportunity. So it's got to break out of your day to day. Got to break out of that mold that when none of us are in one. We have to just know that we're very empowered. We just have to act that way.
All right. And how about for somebody who, let's say they know they're ready to move on. They're looking for that next thing. And I do believe you're not being interviewed. You're the one doing the interviewing, right? Like I'm interviewing you if I want to work here or not, right? And just even the way you show up, I think from an energy standpoint changes when it's like, am I good enough for this place? No, like you should be asking them the questions on what's in it for you. But what advice or feedback do you have for somebody? Give me two things that's gonna make sure I land in the right spot for me.
You mean when leaving the company? You mean when you're looking for your next move, your next?
I've already left. Let's say I've already left. I'm now investigating my next move. How do I make sure I find my right job?
Well, certainly you can't limit it to the interview or to the person you're speaking with. I think that there's a lot of research I recommend people do before they go anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of information available. You really could be talking to people who work in these organizations already. Get really educated and don't just, trust the first thing you see. So I think first of all, look broadly and get as much information about the company and kind of come up with your top list. Like what matters to you? Do you care about a company that's very sustainable? Do you care about a company that values inclusion and diversity? Do you care about a company that's on a growth trajectory? Like you have to map. I think we have to map what's important to us, and we have to look for organizations that feed our soul. You know, that for sure is something that's important. And then I also think work isn't everything. You know, it used to be, you know, you worked a lot of hours and and then you got home and you ate dinner and you put the TV on and that was the end of your day. I think people need, especially older people, we need to rebalance. I mean, it's not just about the work. I think there's a whole bunch of great things we can give back and do and create. There are a lot of people who are working second jobs, or they're doing lots of volunteer work, or they're traveling, or they found their new passion. So I don't think work is the be all of end all, but I think if you're going to make that emotional investment in it, you have to really come to terms with what is it that fills your soul and think about those things, prioritize them, and then make sure the company at least has a good shot at filling that for you.
Meryl, we both get the opportunity to share our stories from time to time, and I know you do a lot of talking on the topic of flexible work and future of work and employee experience. What do you find is like, what are you being asked to talk about right now? Is there like a specific one topic that I want Meryl to come in and address this?
Um, well, there's a topic I'd like them to ask me, but I'll save that. Maybe I
I
could.
want to hear both.
Okay. So I think the big topic is, I think we talked about this earlier, is really about leadership development. It's really about, we know that leaders, and I said this earlier, that are really crushed from top to bottom, side to side, and investing in them, people realize that is what's going to keep their people engaged and retained. People don't leave companies because of the company, leave because of of a lack of an engaged leader or coworker or colleague. So I think that's a big thing that I've been doing a lot of speaking on and a lot of delivery on, helping organizations. And it's basic stuff. It's how do you hold people accountable? How do you have courageous conversations? How do you do performance reviews? You know, how do you create a collaborative with all the ways that you can communicate? People are so inundated, emails and voicemails and texts. How do you create norms in your day-to-day around communication? So it's, again, how do you get leaders to kind of be more crystal clear on their priorities? How do you know, help them be more effective? So that's a very big body of work and very, very important. Also, dealing with change. You know, we do a lot of work helping companies transition their people through change, whether they're changing the workspace and people are like, oh crap, now I don't have a desk. Now I don't have a place to put my photos. I'm going to this hoteling space. That gets them crazy. It's depending again on their frame. So we do a lot of work on workplace change, helping people adapt before the change, during the change, after the change, working with the real estate folks, the technology folks, the human resources people, to be sure that we don't just put people in a position where they are overwhelmed and resistant. So we do a lot of that work.
I mean, so many people though are resistant to change. Like, give me one strategy that you found super effective in overcoming resistance.
Start at the top. You have to start at the top of an organization. If an organization, if the top leaders of an organization aren't aligned on the importance of a change, they're not advocating the change and not modeling the change, I can get everybody excited about something, but if their executive leader doesn't say this is why we're the why, what, how of a change, if they don't have the context for why we're doing it, what we're doing, and how, and they don't speak about that, I can do all the work in the world and it won't matter. I had a very interesting Zoom meeting with a CEO and his team, and we had finished all the interviews to take them through a certain change. And then I looked at the CEO and he said, okay, let's have a meeting. And Meryl, I want you to tell everybody about what you heard. And I said, they will not care what I say. You need to tell them that you're on board because they're going to listen to you. You're the ultimate leader. And when you say, we're going to do this change, why we're doing it, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, they will follow you. Me doing it and summarizing those notes will do you no justice. And I just looked at him at the Zoom and I just stopped and our eyes locked, which was pretty effective in a Zoom because, you know, you're thinking you're far away. And he did it. He declared, he said to a C-suite, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. That was one of my biggest, proudest moments because I had the courage to basically say, no, 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 this is on you, not on me. I'm handing you the playbook, but you need to do that. So that was very cool for me and for the
So
organization because I
cool.
know I impacted thousands of people.
Well, I probably didn't even realize he had that ability to connect and land. And by the way, if he didn't do it, I'm fascinated by some of the companies that I work with where the perceived leader during an exercise will leave the room or not participate. And you've hired all these smart people who are aware and capable of knowing you're not there, you're not present, you're not in this with us. And it's, again, we're back to awareness again. I know we're coming down the home stretch here. What an awesome conversation. I mean, I've really enjoyed just listening and learning from you, and could not agree more that it starts at the top, and I find where I have failed in certain arenas is where I haven't pushed harder to go to the top and have that conversation. And I think it's human nature, right? Like, it's not personal, it's exhausting sometimes to, like, who do I need to get to continue to get to the right person? And you finally get to that person. And then, like, what do you say? How do you keep it clear and say what you need to say to help them be better what they do? That is an exhausting journey, and it also takes a lot of time, meaning you lose a lot of time, but it's the right thing. Is there, like, if you were going to take us home with one colossal important lesson about the realities of change? Yeah. Big moment, right? Professionally. What, because you're living it, you're in it. Just sort of take us home on the importance of change and embracing it.
I think that change is where we are. Change isn't something you wait for. We are in a time where you have to just do it. You have to manage change. It is coming faster than it ever has before. So we can't say we're resistant to it. We have to embrace it. I think if we can't lead it or do it, we have to ask for help, ask for grace. So for when we talk with organizations, we say, don't hide behind what you can't do. Ask for the help, whether it's within your organization, get change ambassadors. They're people that are naturally very comfortable with change. So just because you're responsible for leading change doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. But people around you who are comfortable, that could be new people that have come in who've done it in another company. It could be people who are in your company that are just have pent up desire to do it. It could be having a third party come in, but don't become small from it, because we have to not be reactive. We have to predict, expect, manage change, and find the good find the good in where it's going to take us. So I don't know. I think change is exciting. Some people don't. So I think we have to first, like we said earlier, understand where we are comfort-wise and not solve for our own comfort level and change. Put the right people and processes around us so that we can do our very best in moving the organization and our people forward.
Here's to going forward. We've been joined by Meryl Rosenthal, CEO of FlexPaths. She's been running her own ship for 20 years now. Congrats. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Couldn't agree more that you don't really get a say on change. It's happening whether you like it or not. One of the things I'm actually really excited to see, Meryl, is when people start using the acronym WFW instead of WFH, instead of working from home, working from work. And it's like, sorry, today's a WFW day. I got to go in. And what does that actually mean? Please stay in touch.
I will.
Stay courageous. And,
Thank
and again, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks,
you.
Meryl.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.